On December 19, 2025, Brussels was gripped by more than just the chill of winter. The city's historic streets, blanketed in snow, were alive with anticipation and tension, as the fate of an entire continent's security hung in the balance. Inside the imposing walls of the European Union headquarters, the stakes could not have been higher. Diplomats, advisors, and heads of state gathered, aware that the decisions made that night would echo far beyond the city's icy avenues. After hours of intense, sometimes heated negotiations that stretched late into the night, EU leaders finally reached a consensus. They agreed on a monumental €90 billion loan package for Ukraine, to be distributed over the next 2 years. The atmosphere in the room shifted from anxiety to cautious optimism, as leaders recognized the gravity of their commitment, not just to Ukraine, but to the principles of European unity and security. This decision marked a pivotal turning point. It was a clear signal to the world that Europe would not stand by as Ukraine faced the threat of collapse under relentless Russian aggression. The unity displayed by the EU sent a powerful message of solidarity, resilience, and shared responsibility. Initially, the plan had been to use frozen Russian assets as collateral for the aid. However, this approach quickly became mired in legal and political controversy. Concerns over international law, potential retaliation, and the precedent it would set made the proposal too risky to pursue. The debate was fierce, with some leaders pushing for bold action, while others urged caution and respect for legal norms. Ultimately, the EU chose a different path. By deciding to borrow the funds directly, the Union demonstrated not only its collective financial strength, but also its unwavering commitment to supporting Ukraine in its hour of need. This move showcased the EU's ability to act decisively, even when consensus seemed elusive. For Ukraine, the situation was dire. The country's financial crisis had reached a critical point. Without immediate and substantial aid, Ukraine faced the very real prospect of economic collapse, mass unemployment, and a dangerously weakened defense against ongoing attacks. The streets of Kiev, once bustling, now reflected the anxiety and hardship of a nation under siege. The €90 billion sum was not chosen at random. It was the result of careful calculations by economists and policymakers, designed to keep Ukraine's government functioning, its economy afloat, and its people resilient through at least 2027. Every euro represented a lifeline, a chance for Ukraine to withstand the pressures of war and uncertainty. This package stands as one of the largest aid commitments the European Union has ever made to a non-member state. It underscores the historic nature of the decision, reflecting both the extraordinary challenges of the moment and the EU's willingness to rise to them. The world watched as Europe took a stand, not just for Ukraine, but for the values of democracy and stability. As dawn broke over Brussels, exhausted officials emerged from the summit, knowing their work was far from over. The agreement reached that night was not perfect, and many challenges still lay ahead. But in answering Ukraine's desperate call for help, the EU had taken a bold step, one that would shape the future of Europe, and perhaps the world, for years to come. The EU's decision to provide a massive financial package was a direct response to an urgent and growing crisis. Ukraine was teetering on the edge of financial collapse, with its economy battered by relentless war and its people facing an uncertain future. The war had devastated nearly every sector of Ukraine's economy. The government struggled to pay its soldiers, who risked their lives on the front lines, as well as doctors and nurses working in overwhelmed hospitals, and pensioners who depended on their monthly payments to survive. Across the country, infrastructure lay in ruins. Bridges, roads, and entire neighborhoods had been destroyed, making daily life a struggle and threatening to unravel the very fabric of Ukrainian society. Russia's strategy was clear: to bleed Ukraine dry, not just through military might, but by targeting its economy and hoping to force a collapse through sheer exhaustion. The EU's financial support was more than just a gesture of solidarity. It was a calculated countermeasure, designed to give Ukraine the resources and stamina it needed to withstand Russian attrition and keep its government functioning. If Ukraine were to fall, not just militarily but financially, the consequences would ripple far beyond its borders. A Ukrainian defeat by financial collapse would bring Russian forces to the very edge of the European Union, threatening the security and stability of the entire continent. The €90 billion loan is not just a lifeline for Ukraine's survival. It is also a strategic investment in Europe's own security, ensuring that the front line of democracy and stability holds firm. The stakes could not be higher. This is about more than just economics or politics. It is about the survival of Ukraine as a nation and the future stability of the entire European continent. In Kiev, the news from Brussels brought relief and gratitude. President Zelensky quickly thanked the EU, calling the support a true boost to Ukraine's resilience. The loan gives Ukraine breathing room, shifting focus from survival to long-term planning and rebuilding. It ensures the government can pay salaries and maintain social stability, vital for national morale. The assurance of funding projects confidence to citizens and international partners alike. Deputy Foreign Minister Kyslytsya acknowledged the deal wasn't perfect, but stressed, perfect is the enemy of good. Ukraine recognized that debating frozen Russian assets could have delayed aid disastrously. The EU's direct borrowing was the fastest, most reliable way to deliver the lifeline Ukraine needed. In crisis, a good deal is one that delivers real, immediate support. The €90 billion loan was Plan B. The original, bolder idea was to use frozen Russian assets as collateral, a move both symbolic and practical. This would have made the aggressor pay for the defense of its victim, but legal and political obstacles proved insurmountable. Concerns about international law, financial stability, and potential retaliation led to deep divisions among EU members. The risk of destabilizing global finance was too great to resolve in one night. The EU pivoted to direct borrowing, prioritizing speed and certainty over symbolism. The perfect solution was set aside for a pragmatic answer to Ukraine's urgent needs. Belgium was at the center of the frozen assets debate, as most Russian funds were held there. Euroclear, based in Brussels, held €185 billion of Russian assets, putting Belgium in a vulnerable position. Implementing asset seizure would have exposed Belgium to legal challenges and possible Russian retaliation. The Belgian government demanded guarantees from the EU, guarantees too complex to finalize quickly. There was also fear that seizing assets would damage the Eurozone's reputation as a safe haven, risking capital flight. The principle of sovereign immunity underpins global finance. Breaking it could have global repercussions. With risks too concentrated and solutions too complex, the EU chose to bypass the assets for now. The financial burden was spread across the Union, avoiding a dangerous bottleneck. The Kremlin reacted swiftly to the EU's asset plan, with President Putin calling it daylight robbery. He warned of grave consequences, hinting at retaliation, legal, economic, or even cyber. Putin's rhetoric aimed to cast Russia as a victim and sow division within the West. He threatened that seizing assets would undermine trust in the euro, hoping to deter EU action. Even after the EU backed away from the asset plan, the €90 billion loan sent a clear message. Europe's support for Ukraine endures. The package is a blow to Russia's hopes of winning through economic attrition. The EU's resolve forces Moscow to face a long, costly conflict against a well-funded Ukraine. The EU's final agreement brought relief, if not celebration. A difficult compromise had been reached. German Chancellor Merz called it good news for Ukraine, bad news for Russia. The deal showed EU unity and the ability to act despite internal divisions. The failure to use Russian assets highlighted legal and political tensions, but the pivot to direct borrowing showed resilience. Leaders like Ursula von der Leyen emphasized the message of unity and resolve. The cautious, rules-based approach prevailed, ensuring support for Ukraine on solid legal ground. The €90 billion loan is a powerful exercise of EU economic sovereignty. The immediate crisis was met with decisive action, reaffirming Europe's commitment to Ukraine. Analysts saw the EU's decision as a crucial, pragmatic step.
ING's Karsten Brzeski called it the prevention of a symbolic disaster. Failure would have been catastrophic for Ukraine and a propaganda win for Moscow. The EU's direct borrowing reassured markets and ensured quick delivery of funds. This move deepens EU financial integration, building on mechanisms first used during the pandemic. The loan is a lifeline, not a silver bullet. It covers Ukraine's budget, not the full cost of war. Military aid from individual countries remains essential. The loan adds to Ukraine's debt, a challenge for the future. For now, it buys time for Ukraine and its allies to work toward victory and reconstruction.
The €90 billion loan is a monument to pragmatism. Imperfect, but real and immediate. In a world where perfect solutions are rare, this financial lifeline stands as a testament to what can be achieved when urgency outweighs hesitation. The package may not answer every question or resolve every concern, but it delivers what Ukraine needs most right now: resources, hope, and a signal that it is not alone. It ensures Ukraine's resilience won't be broken by an empty treasury. With these funds, salaries are paid, hospitals remain open, and essential services continue to function even as the war grinds on. For families and communities under siege, this support is more than numbers on a balance sheet. It's the difference between despair and determination. The decision solidifies the EU as Ukraine's primary financial guarantor and signals to Moscow that Europe is prepared for a long struggle. It's a message that the continent's commitment will not waver, even as the costs mount and the headlines shift. The debate over frozen Russian assets isn't over, but immediate action took precedence. While leaders continue to argue over the fate of billions in seized funds, they recognize that delay was not an option. The urgency of Ukraine's needs demanded a bold, if imperfect, response. Issuing common EU debt strengthens Europe's role as a global financial power. It's a step that not only supports Ukraine, but also deepens the EU's own integration, showing that Europe can act decisively when the stakes are highest. The agreement was a victory for the possible over the perfect, decisive action in a moment of crisis. It's a reminder that unity, even when messy, can achieve what endless debate cannot. The loan doesn't guarantee victory, but it makes one possible, providing stability for military and diplomatic efforts. It buys time for Ukraine to defend itself, and for Europe to plan for the long road ahead. For Ukraine, it's a breath of life. For the EU, a defining act of collective will. This moment will be remembered as one where Europe chose action over indecision and solidarity over silence. When faced with the greatest security challenge in a generation, Europe acted, not with perfection, but with purpose, courage, and the understanding that sometimes good enough is exactly what history demands.